yet he still is not a Steeler. CC says, well, did you hear the J.J. McCarthy comments yesterday saying, they haven't told me I'm QB1, I know I need to work for it, etc. So there's an internet rumor, which, of course, that's where I live.
You're locked into those.
Yeah, that's to me, that's better than, like, actual credible reporting.
Yeah, this is your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You're about to cook with this one.
And this is so not anything that is, like, malicious or anything. The Steelers fans believe that on April 9th, when Pat McAfee comes and does a huge event in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. By the way, today, noon until 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time, LeBron James 1 hour, 15-minute interview with McAfee on ESPN. And when Pat McAfee shows up, he's going to bring Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers is going to announce then in Pittsburgh that he signed with the Steelers. That's the internet rumor the fans believe. Here's my only problem with that.
Okay.
Are the Steelers fans going to be happy he's on the Steelers? They are going to be way happier that McAfee's there than Rodgers is there.
Beyond that, and that is something. I don't want to dismiss that.
No, but it's a celebration. Why would they celebrate that guy?
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Because they need a quarterback.
But think about this. Off the heels of what Cam Hayward said on his podcast last week, either you want to be a Steeler or you don't. If Aaron Rodgers is waiting for that moment to build the theater before he announces that he's coming to Pittsburgh, if he's waiting weeks on end just to create that moment, and the byproduct of that is putting your squad at a competitive disadvantage because they have to think about contingencies as quarterback because they don't know definitively that you are going to sign, how you think that's going to be received in that locker room?
Not great.
Ain't this about endearing yourself to your teammates? Don't you want to send the right message to them that you're all about trying to compete for championships? Because the leadership from that Pittsburgh Steelers locker room said this is a state of urgency. They got to get it done while they can, while they still got those guys that are a part of a core in the twilight of their prime. For you to be taking more time, not because you're deliberating your decision, but because you're building theater around the Pat McAfee show, building anticipation, bringing the spotlight onto you, I don't know that that's going to be received well, especially with the perception around Aaron Rodgers in league circles. So that's a bad look if that ends up being how it plays out.
Okay, this is just a theory to reiterate. But if, in fact, this does happen, great for us in the media.
Yeah.
But first thing that I will say is miss me with the Packers nostalgia. Miss me with the I miss the culture of winning, etc.
Right.
If you have the opportunity to go to an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers that very closely resembles what you experienced in Green Bay, a proud franchise who's won historically with a great head coach and a locker room where this is a group of men who are pulling the rope the same way. No one person is above the rest. And instead of leaning into that culture and leaning into that idea of I'm coming here, I'm going to put my head down, I'm just going to work and do whatever it takes in order for us to get over that hump and win a playoff game and hopefully go further than that. If it becomes this huge public entertainment spectacle about his decision, I can't imagine that that's going to go over well in Pittsburgh, and I can't imagine that we are going to receive that well, especially if he mentions Green Bay and wanting to get back to those winning ways at any point.
So it reminds me of one of the greatest nights of sports that I've ever been a part of, and no game took place. I was in the building for the not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4 with LeBron in the introductory celebration. And the fans were going nuts. It was unbelievable. It was the greatest party ever. But if you look and you see Coach Riley's face, he's ready to strangle them. Mm-hmm. You're guaranteeing championships when you've never won one. You know how hard that is? The pep rally in sports is good in high school. It's not for the pros.
Okay, but even though Pat Riley was annoyed with that, they did win.
Not that year.
But they did ultimately win. Will Aaron Rodgers have that same payoff?
No.
They won, but you can make the argument they underachieved.
You can.
And I guess the conversation around Aaron Rodgers is that this is a guy that won a championship, but he's been in the league 20 years and has only been to one Super Bowl and is a 4-time MVP. Anybody that's gotten multiple MVPs, aside from Lamar Jackson, those guys have played in multiple Super Bowls. Why not Aaron Rodgers?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I totally agree with you that you could definitely make the underachieving argument. I guess my point was more, if you're going to set it up for all this fanfare, if you're going to set it up as if you're the missing piece and everyone should exalt you because you chose them, you better back it up.
Yeah,
but you're right. You're right, though, Smalls. The whole nostalgia thing with Green Bay, you got to miss me with that. Like, I'm not going to begrudge you for waiting out for Minnesota because I think currently Minnesota is a better situation. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of a handful of organizations as a player that you would beg to be drafted to. Mm-hmm. You know, there's only a few of those franchises around in the NFL. I can run through them. The Baltimore Ravens, the Green Bay Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles. That's probably the list. If you're getting drafted to those places, if you don't pan out as a player, that's a you problem because you know the infrastructure is there to get the most out of their people.
Yes.
They're going to have a plan on how to develop you. They're going to have a plan to win now and win for the future, like Mike Tannenbaum always talks about. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you have all of these warm and fuzzies around how things were set up in Green Bay and you have the opportunity to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a franchise that's begging you to come there, why is it taking you so long to make up your damn mind?
I can't imagine, but let's go there for a second. What if we're talking about this internet theory that you just proposed, that it's going to be this big show when he decides that
it's going to be a big show with or without him because McAfee kicks butt with this stuff, so kudos
of course,
to him.
but I'm saying a big show for the decision, like the Aaron Rodgers version of the decision, right? What if the opposite happens? What if it's not he's announcing when McAfee's in Pittsburgh, and obviously he has a relationship there, but that the Steelers are left without a dance partner? How embarrassing would that be for a franchise like the Pittsburgh Steelers? They were so fine just sitting there on their hands, waiting for Aaron Rodgers at this stage in his career. We're not talking about them waiting for Matthew Stafford. At this stage of his career, Aaron Rodgers, they're waiting for him to make this decision. We're hypothesizing about this big reveal. And then in the end, he ultimately goes to Minnesota and they're just left there with no chair.
See, you're not a wrestling fan. CC will appreciate this, and the many wrestling fans out there. Nuno just put something in my head. He said, what if he comes out in a Vikings jersey in Pittsburgh? That's NWO, Degeneration X style.
That is full heel.
I would become an Aaron Rodgers super fan if he showed up to McAfee in Pittsburgh in a Vikings jersey.
Well, I hope they have great security for that show to get them out of Pittsburgh after he does that.
That'd be unbelievable. And he comes out to the NWO or Degeneration X music.
Nice.
Oh, what music? NWO, Wolfpack, the regular one, Degeneration X. Smalls doesn't have any idea what the heck we're talking about right now.
That would be awesome, though, if he did that.
That would be amazing. We're on Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.
Chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Vòng hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là sương mù. Mọi người ơi, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là bão tuyết. Bây giờ mình bắt đầu làm nhé. Mình sự ai đang chạy bên. Màu xanh đầu tiên nhé. Mọi người ơi, màu xanh này, màu xanh này. Mọi người hai màu này, đây hai màu của mình này.